Have you ever walked out of a doctor's office feeling more worried than when you walked in? You know what I mean. You go in for a regular checkup. You're feeling fine, maybe a little tired, a little stiff, but hey, that's just part of getting older, right? Then the doctor says something like, your numbers look a little off. Let's run some more tests. Suddenly, your peaceful day turns into a storm of questions. Wait, what's wrong with me? Do I need to be worried? What if they find something serious? And just like that, what started as a routine visit becomes a spiral of anxiety, tests, hospital gowns, and waiting rooms. And sometimes, those extra tests don't give you peace of mind, they take it away. You see, after 70, the goal of medicine should shift. It's not about chasing problems that haven't shown up. It's about living fully, feeling well, and making the most of the time you have left. But here's the problem nobody tells you. Some health checkups? They're not just unnecessary, they might actually cause more harm than good. More fear than peace. More stress than safety. And in some cases, even dangerous side effects that could have been avoided altogether. But how would you know? Most folks just trust whatever's ordered. They think, well, if the doctor says I need it, I must need it. But what if you didn't? In this video, I'm going to walk you through 4 common medical checkups that seniors over 70 are often told to do, but that may not be helping you at all. In fact, in some cases, they may be putting your health, your independence, or even your life at risk. We'll talk about what these tests are, why they can be harmful, and how to talk to your doctor about what really matters for you, not just what's written on a checklist. Because you deserve better than blind routines. You deserve care that's thoughtful, wise, and built around you. So, stay with me. Because by the end of this video you'll have the clarity you need to say, no, I don't need that test, and here's why. You'll be empowered to make smarter decisions for your body, your peace of mind, and your future. And before we dive in, let me ask you this, have you ever felt unsure about a medical test? Have you ever sat on that cold exam table, wondering, do I really need this? Or is this just routine? If you have, you're not alone. Comment below and just say, I've been there. Let's make this a safe space for sharing and learning from one another. And hey, if you're new here, welcome to Elderly Wisdom Guide, where we take the fear out of aging and replace it with knowledge, kindness, and strength. Alright, let's talk about the first checkup you might want to think twice about. 1. Annual full-body scans. Let me tell you about George. George is 74. Sharp mind. Good sense of humor. He still takes morning walks, keeps his garden neat, and makes the best oatmeal cookies on his block. Now, George's son, worried like many adult children are, signed him up for one of those preventative full-body scan packages. You've probably heard of them. They advertise on TV or send those glossy flyers in the mail. One scan could save your life, they promise. So, George started going. Every year. Out of pocket. Hundreds of dollars. And for a while, it gave him peace of mind. Until last year. That year, the scan picked up a shadow. Nothing alarming, they said. But, they recommended a biopsy, just to be safe. One biopsy turned into a surgical removal. And that surgery came with complications, he bled more than expected. His recovery was slow. He lost weight. He lost energy. And when the results came back? Benign. It was nothing. Just tissue that looked strange on the scan but posed no real threat to his health. George went in healthy. He came out shaken. And it took him months to feel like himself again. You see, full-body scans aren't all they're cracked up to be, especially as we age. Here's the thing most folks don't know, these scans are extremely sensitive. They pick up everything, tiny cysts, little nodules, minor tissue irregularities. And while that sounds like a good thing, most of these findings, they're what doctors call incidental. They're harmless. They don't cause symptoms. They won't shorten your life. But once they're spotted, the dominoes fall. More tests, biopsies, referrals, worry, stress, and sometimes unnecessary treatments that come with their own risks. In seniors, especially over 70, these findings are common. Our bodies change. A lot of what shows up on a scan is just age-related change, not illness. But machines can't tell the difference between what's dangerous and what's just old tissue. And unfortunately, not all doctors will explain that clearly. Now don't get me wrong, technology is amazing. Scans can absolutely save lives in the right context. But routine, full-body scans with no symptoms? For many people in their 70s, 80s, or beyond, they're more likely to cause harm than to help. There's a misconception that more testing equals better prevention. But medicine is not like home security. You can't just install more cameras and expect fewer problems. Because sometimes, looking too hard, leads to problems that weren't even there to begin with. So, what's the better approach? It's called symptom-driven care. That means, if something feels wrong, real, noticeable, persistent, then it's time to check it out. But if you feel fine, if you're active, clear-headed, eating well, sleeping okay, you might not need that scan at all. Instead of rushing into tests, have a real conversation with your doctor. Ask, is this scan going to change anything about how we care for me? Is this something that could actually help me feel better? Or is it just to look, without a clear reason why? Because sometimes, not looking can be the wiser path. Not because you're ignoring your health, but because you're protecting your peace. And after 70, peace is just as valuable as prevention. And that brings us to another check that's commonly misunderstood. One that sounds simple, but has led many older men down a road they never expected. 2. PSA test for prostate cancer. Let me tell you about Harold. Harold is 78 years old. Always took good care of himself. Walked every morning. Still drove his wife to Sunday church. He wasn't on many medications, and he felt, by all accounts, great. Then one day, during a routine visit, his doctor suggested a PSA test, just to keep an eye on things. No symptoms. No complaints. Just part of the routine. The results came back, elevated PSA levels. Now, Harold didn't even know what PSA stood for. But the word elevated made him nervous. And the next thing he knew, he was referred to a urologist. Then came the prostate biopsy. If you've never had one, or known someone who has, it's not a simple swab. It's invasive. Uncomfortable. And for older men, it can be risky. Harold ended up with a mild infection afterward. He was put on antibiotics, which messed with his stomach. He didn't eat right for weeks. Lost weight. Lost energy. And all of that, for what? The results showed a very slow-growing form of prostate cancer. One that experts agree is incredibly common in men his age, and even more important, one that would have never caused him a single symptom in his lifetime. But now the label was on him. Cancer. A heavy word. His family pushed for treatment. The doctors presented options: surgery, radiation, hormone therapy. And even though the odds were in his favor, he couldn't unhear that diagnosis. So, he agreed to surgery. And after it was done, Harold came home with complications. He struggled with urinary incontinence. He had to wear pads for the first time in his life. And what hit him even harder, his sexual function was gone. He started to withdraw. From conversations. From outings. even from his wife. All because of a test that might not have been necessary in the first place. Now, let me be clear, PSA tests can be useful in some cases. Especially for younger men with symptoms or high risk. But after 70, the math changes. Prostate cancer is extremely common in older men. But it often grows so slowly, you die with it, not from it. What most people don't realize is this: the test itself isn't dangerous, but what it leads to can be. The surgeries. The radiation. The side effects. The anxiety. All for a condition that may never have affected your health in the first place. But here's the catch: we hear the word cancer, and our minds go to the worst-case scenario. We panic. We act fast. We feel like we have to fight it. Even when the smartest choice might be to just watch. Wait. Monitor. See, not all cancers are created equal. And when you're older, treatment isn't always the best option. Quality of life matters just as much, sometimes even more, than a diagnosis on a chart. So, what should you do? If you're over 70, and you feel fine, no pain, no trouble urinating, no blood, no discomfort, talk to your doctor. Not just about whether to get the PSA test, but about what you'd actually do with the results. Ask, if it's positive, what does that mean for me? Would it change anything? Would the treatment be worse than the disease? Because once you know that answer, you'll feel more confident saying, no thank you, I'd rather skip it. Or, yes, I want it, but only if it makes sense for my life, not just the protocol. You're not being difficult. You're being wise. And wisdom, at this stage in life, is your most powerful tool. And while the PSA test is already known for being controversial, the next checkup? It's one that most people never question, but after 75, it can carry serious risks. 3. Colonoscopies after 75. Let's talk about Joan. Joan was 77. Lively spirit. Loved gardening, baking pies, and FaceTiming her grandkids every Sunday. She had no digestive issues, no pain, no bleeding, nothing out of the ordinary. But during her annual checkup, her doctor recommended a colonoscopy. Just routine, they said. Nothing to worry about. So Joan went in. She fasted. Did the bowel prep, which, if you've ever done it, you know, it's not easy, especially on an older body. The procedure went fine, or so it seemed. But 2 weeks later, Joan got up too quickly one morning, lightheaded from lingering dehydration. She fell. Broke her hip. And that fall, it changed everything. Hospitalization. Surgery. Bed rest. She never fully bounced back. Her energy faded. Her independence slipped away. The woman who once knelt in the garden every afternoon now needed a walker just to get to the bathroom. All of it, set in motion by a test she may not have needed. You see, colonoscopies have their place. They do save lives when done at the right time, for the right reasons. But after 75, especially if your previous results have been clean, the risk-to-benefit ratio changes dramatically. Let's break this down. The procedure itself requires sedation. That's not always well tolerated in older adults. Sedation can cause confusion, dizziness, and unsteadiness for days, even weeks, afterward. Then there's the bowel prep. Flushing out your system the night before can leave you dehydrated. It throws off your electrolytes. For younger folks, it's uncomfortable. But for older people, it can be dangerous. And the procedure isn't risk-free either. There's always a chance, however small, of perforation. That's a tear in the colon wall. And in someone over 75, a complication like that can mean a long hospital stay, or worse. But here's what's most important: if you've already had clear colonoscopies in your 50s or 60s. And you've had no symptoms since. There's often no medical reason to keep repeating it after 75. Yet many folks don't know that. Why? Because we're told from a young age, get screened. Catch it early. And that message sticks. But as we age, the goal shifts. It's not about catching everything anymore. It's about preserving your quality of life. Your mobility. Your mental clarity. Your freedom to live without fear. Now, if you do have symptoms, persistent abdominal pain, bleeding, unexplained weight loss, that's a different story. In that case, screening still matters. But routine colonoscopies, just because a birthday passed? That's a decision worth slowing down and talking through. So, what can you do instead? There are less invasive options out there. Stool-based tests like FIT or Cologuard. Simple, done at home, and without the sedation risks. But even those should be discussed carefully with your doctor. Ask, what would you do if the result came back abnormal? Because sometimes, those tests just lead back to a colonoscopy anyway. So, if you're over 75 and your past screenings were clean, consider asking your doctor a powerful question: is this test really necessary for me right now? You've earned the right to pause. To reflect. To weigh the risk against the reward. And that brings us to the next test. One that's not about your body, but your mind. And perhaps, the most emotionally confusing of them all. 4. Routine memory screening without symptoms. Now let's talk about Evelyn. Evelyn was 81. Bright, joyful, sharp-witted. She had a habit of telling the same stories over and over, but honestly, they were so good, nobody minded. She still cooked her famous meatloaf every Sunday, kept track of her medication, and even organized her church group's events. Then one day, during her annual physical, her doctor said, "Let's do a quick memory screening. Just to check in." It was supposed to be routine. Harmless. A simple set of questions. But when the results came back, there was a note in her chart: mild cognitive impairment. Her daughter panicked. Her son flew in from out of state. And just like that, Evelyn's world shifted. Suddenly, every pause in conversation became suspicious. Every misplaced item was a red flag. Every quiet moment was met with concerned glances. Her family started hovering. They took away her car keys. They insisted on managing her finances. They even followed her around the house, just to be safe. She felt like a stranger in her own home. And that spark in her eyes? It faded. Not because of dementia. But because of doubt. Not hers, but everyone else's. You see, memory tests like that one can be a double-edged sword. Yes, they can flag early signs of decline. Yes, they can help catch serious issues before they spiral. But here's what they don't tell you: not all memory changes mean disease. The brain, like the body, changes with age. Just like joints get stiffer and vision softens, memory shifts too. You might forget a name. Walk into a room and forget why. Lose your train of thought for a second. That's normal. But when we rush to test, without symptoms, without cause, just to tick a box, we risk turning natural aging into a medical label. And once that label is there, it sticks. In your chart. In your family's mind. In your own heart. And it can do real damage. Because with that label often comes stigma. Fear. Overprotection. Isolation. And worst of all, a deep sense of, I'm not who I used to be. And here's the truth most people don't hear enough: many cases of mild cognitive impairment never become dementia. They stabilize. They fluctuate. Some even reverse with sleep, diet, or mood improvement. But the moment you're told your memory's declining, you start to pull back. From decisions. From conversations. From life. So, what should we do instead? Simple. Instead of screening everyone, let's watch carefully. Let's listen with care. Let's look for real-world signs. Is someone forgetting important appointments? Getting lost in familiar places? Leaving the stove on? Struggling with money management or language? Those are reasons to explore further. Those are moments where medical insight can truly help. But doing memory tests just because someone turned 75, or 80, or 85, that's not always helpful. In fact, it can create more confusion, more tension, and more harm than the symptoms we were trying to prevent. So before agreeing to a memory screening, ask, is there a specific concern? Have I noticed any real-life issues that worry me? Will this test bring clarity, or just worry? Because when there's no clear problem, sometimes the wisest choice is to keep living fully, engaged, active, surrounded by familiar routines and people who believe in you. These 4 checkups we've talked about, they're not evil. They're not dangerous by default. But after 70, context is everything. The same test that's helpful at 50 might be harmful at 80, not because of the test itself, but because of the cascade it can trigger. And this brings us to the heart of the matter. The emotional truth that underlies everything we've discussed so far. It's hard to believe, isn't it? That something meant to protect you, to keep you healthy, could actually lead you down a path of fear, discomfort, and regret. But that's the quiet truth no one talks about. Over-testing can steal your peace. It can make your final decades feel like a never-ending waiting room, blood draws, scans, biopsies, prep days, and sleepless nights worrying about what might be wrong. Instead of enjoying your morning coffee, you're bracing for another follow-up. Instead of relaxing at a family gathering, you're wondering if that test result will come back abnormal. Instead of living in the moment, you're caught in the web of what-ifs. And that's not what aging is supposed to be. You see, getting older doesn't mean you have to surrender to every machine, every screen, every needle. You don't have to chase every test, every scan, every metric. Because here's the truth that no one tells you loud enough. You've earned the right to focus on the life in front of you. Not the life someone thinks you might lose. You've survived loss. You've endured change. You've carried burdens and joys, and everything in between. You don't need more fear, you need freedom. You need clarity. You need choice. It's not about being careless. It's about being wise. It's about recognizing that your time is precious, and every day matters more than any scan ever could. So, let's reframe this. Let's shift away from the fear of missing something to the confidence of knowing what matters most. Because real care, at this stage of life, isn't about catching everything. It's about preserving your comfort, your dignity, your joy. If you're over 70, or if you're caring for someone who is, take a moment to pause. To reflect. Ask yourself, is this test truly necessary? Or am I agreeing to it because I'm afraid of not doing it? And if your answer comes from fear, not facts, that's your sign to ask more questions. To speak with your doctor not about the test itself, but about your goals. What do you value? What makes your days meaningful? What brings you peace? Because medical care should fit you, not the other way around. And you know what? You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to say, I'd rather focus on feeling good than chasing problems I don't even feel. Growing older isn't about being under the microscope, it's about rising above it. It's about intention over intervention. Presence over panic. Love over fear. You still have wisdom to share. Laughs to give. Hands to hold. Moments that matter. So, take that power back. Live wisely. Live boldly. Live on your terms. Let's recap what we've covered today. The 4 medical checkups you should be cautious with after 70. 1. Full body scans, which often detect harmless, incidental, findings that lead to unnecessary fear and treatment. 2. PSA tests for prostate cancer, which frequently overdiagnose slow-growing cancers that would never cause harm. 3. Routine colonoscopies after 75, where the risks of sedation and complications often outweigh the benefits. 4. Memory screenings without symptoms, which can lead to mislabeling, emotional harm, and reduced independence. Now remember, none of these are bad in themselves. But after 70, they should be used with purpose, not just out of habit. They should be chosen with care, not fear. And now I'd love to hear from you. Have you or someone you love ever gone through a medical test that ended up causing more harm than help? Or maybe, you said no to a procedure, and looking back, you're glad you did. Your story matters. It might be the very thing another viewer needs to hear. So please, share it in the comments. Let's make this a space where wisdom grows and fear fades. And if this video brought you a little clarity today, if it helped you feel more in control, more seen, more empowered, then please give it a like. It truly helps more people discover our channel and join our community. And don't forget to subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Guide, because every day, we share honest, heartfelt, and helpful advice to guide you through your golden years with grace. This isn't just about medicine. It's about meaning. It's about choosing peace over panic. It's about aging with strength, softness, and self-respect. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Stay strong. Stay informed. And above all, stay true to what feels right for you. I'll see you in the next video.